Arizona basketball and football have massive overhauls this past offseason, but what does it mean for Arizona football?
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. Your team every day. I'm Mike Luke. You can follow me at Iron Mike Luke. All right, now we've been talking a lot of basketball. We've been talking about kind of the overhaul this during the season of basketball. Figured we would talk about it now in the offseason with Arizona football, where we stand, what we think, what are our concerns, and what are the outlooks. Now, everybody knows that anybody that watched Arizona football this past season that it was a comedy of errors. It was bad. It was really, really bad. I don't think that there's there's no other way to put it. You inherited a pretty good roster and it went into the toilet, and it went into the toilet very quickly. A big part of it was the offense, that you had a guy in Dino Babers that had no clue what he was doing. I think that is more than fair to say. Babers was awful. No other way to put it. He obviously didn't have a plan, and he compounded that by basically having no idea what he was going to do with the offense. And when asked about it, he basically got short and he got trite, and he didn't really have any idea. Now, let's talk a little bit about now about the upgrade. And when I say upgrade, I would assume that Seth Doege is better, just because it's impossible to be worse than what Dino Babers was this past season. And bringing in Doege is that's big. He is he's a rising star in the coaching fraternity. He played at Texas Tech, obviously put up a lot of numbers, very familiar with the air raid offense. But what I was intrigued by when he was at Marshall this past year is they put up a bunch of numbers, and they dealt with a few injuries, and he looked at it and he said, we got to be able to run the ball better. That's going to be the strength of the team, and they did just that. He did a very, very nice job with that, and I think that is something you look at as an OC is what is the best possible way that you can put your players into to succeed. And that is something that they could do. That is definitely something that I think is very impressive about that whole aspect and where Arizona is. Now, watching this too, you also think to yourself that, all right, where is Arizona then if you're looking at this coaching staff and you're like, is this better? Is it significantly better? It's got to be better. Now, again, we're going to talk about some concerns I have about it, but at the same time, this is also a very, very good, it's a very, very good upgrade. So let's talk about the offense and what quarterback Noah Fifita. That is going to be a big one for me. What can Noah Fifita do do now? And the first thing that Doege has talked about was he says, we've got to get this guy, we've got to get his feet right. And that was a big part of it last year, where you could tell that he wasn't being coached very well because his feet were not right. How many times? I mean, multiple times, he would take a snap at the 4-yard line on like 3rd and goal, and he's throwing from the 17. How is that happening? You've got to have a coach in here who knows what he's doing. You've got to have a coach in there that can look at that and can sit down with Noah and say, listen, what were you seeing here? We can't have this. We got to have you throwing in this here. And that's something that I think is going to happen. So I look for Noah Fifita to have a bounce back year. Now, again, it's going to be contingent on some things. I don't think there's really any doubt about that. But a big part of Arizona and what you want to do is with Noah Fifita is getting him back on track, because if he's good, then the offense is going to be good. And this is a cerebral kid. Last year, he didn't have any coaching. I mean, this was essentially him that was just kind of doing everything by himself. You can't really have that. You've got to be able to have a guy in Fifita that is actually being coached. And if you're actually being coached, then that's obviously a good thing. Now, let's talk a little bit then about the quarterback position, and then you're bringing in a guy. You bring in Braden Locke. That's fine as a backup. I really don't want him starting, but if he's a backup, I'm more than okay with that. Now, at that running back position, I don't really have Alonzo Carter as a star. You can tell immediately why kids would want to play for Alonzo Carter. It's not really a secret. The dude gets it, and his running back room will always be good. I mean, you look at it last year. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt is going to he's probably going to be an NFL draft pick, and it wouldn't surprise me if he's a starter. He was supposed to be the starter because you watched him and you're like, he's good. Quali Conley was supposed to be a backup. Quali Conley's a fine backup. Quali Conley probably shouldn't have been a starter at that level. And then you got Kedrick Reesano as well. You just got a lot of stuff. You got a lot of players that are good. He's bringing in Ishmael Mahdi. You got Quincy Craig. You got a lot of different dudes. You also brought in a couple running backs. Brought in a guy at the last second out of Crowley, Texas. You also brought in somebody from. Excuse me. You also brought in Wesley Yarborough out of Texas as well. So that running back room, that's loaded. I'm fine with that. And again, as long as Alonzo Carter's there, I'm going to be okay with that unit because Alonzo Carter is that dude. He's that dude, as the kids would say. Wide receiver, I'll be honest with you. The way that this team, the coaching staff, I think mangled a historic opportunity with T-Mac is not something that I think that you can necessarily forget. I think they did a fairly good job, though. I think you got some really good number twos in there. You're not going to have anybody like T-Mac because, quite frankly, I don't know that a player like T-Mac's ever going to come through the U of A again. I don't know that I ever see that happening. Maybe, but it's going to be a long time. But between Chris Hudson, between Chris Hudson, I think Chris Hunter is going to take a real. I think they're going to take. He's going to take a real step forward. You also got Luke Wysong. You also got bringing in the kid from Tennessee State. You got some players there, and again, are any of them going to be great? Probably not. But I also think that this is going to be a team where you're going to have a lot of. You're going to have talent that's dispersed throughout, and I think you're going to have guys that can get open. Now, again, are they going to be T-Mac? No, but if you could have a bunch of guys that are in that 600-700 yard realm, I think you live with it because last year you had T-Mac and then you didn't have anything. Chris Hunter, I think, started to show that at the end, but it was you just didn't have much. Not really breaking any news there. Now, when it comes to the rest of that receiving unit, can a Jeremiah Patterson break through? Jeremiah Patterson, I'm telling you, was killing it in camp, but obviously didn't show it on the field. At the tight end position, I think you're looking at a Kellen Ford. I think Kellen Ford's going to be one of those dudes that is going to. I think he is going to. He's going to be very good for Arizona. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he plays immediately. He's probably the best player in Arizona's recruiting class. Wouldn't surprise me at all if he does become that guy. Now, my biggest concern, though, with this squad is the offensive line. And honestly, I'm not at all sure about what we're going to see here. And again, if your offensive line stinks, then your offense is probably going to stink. I'm not really, like I said, I'm not really breaking any news there. This is a situation where I thought Josh Oglesby did a terrible job this past year. And not only did he do a terrible job, I think he inherited a lot of talent. And not only then did he inherit a ton of talent, but I also think that too that you're kind of like to yourself, you're like, well, mm, 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 that also was not a good. That just wasn't good. You had Jonas Savaiinaea, you had Wendell Moy, you had Josh Baker, you had all of these different. You had different dudes, and you basically changed up their blocking schemes. Instead of trying to have them hold, you had to try to get downfield, and that just doesn't that didn't work, obviously. So nothing was really on par with what you were looking at. Now with this squad, though, I think you look around though, and you're also saying, okay, what is that next level then for Arizona? We're gonna find out. I don't know. Can Big Rhino be that dude at tackle? I don't know. I think you're hoping he can. If he can stay healthy, I think there's some real potential there. But Rhino, I think you can have him Rhino at tackle, obviously. Then the other tackle, it's probably going to be Ty Buchanan out of Texas Tech. If it's Ty Buchanan, if he's good enough, then I just need you to be okay because last year it was just a revolving door. Inside, I think this is just a guess, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if the guard from Hawaii ends up being the center. I think you could see Alex Deuced, and you're probably going to have to find somebody else then at that other guard position. But like I said, you lost a lot of talent, and I don't know that you watch Oglesby and you say to yourself that this is going to be a guy that's going to get it over the hump. I was just, I'm just, like I said, I just don't know what to say. I just don't know what to say. And that's kind of where we're at with that one. That's going to be a big one. Now, definitely, Brent Brennan definitely can't really like he basically has decided that he is going to this is going to be his guy. This is going to be the dude that is going to be the this is going to be the that's going to be that guy. Now we will find out though exactly what where it's at. So now what does that mean then for the defense and where we are at? But first FanDuel, my friends, FanDuel. Here's the deal with FanDuel. And again, check it out. You will love FanDuel. The great thing about FanDuel is when the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get it on the FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook app. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, or even the opening tip-off, or if you want a big fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. That's the way. With the NBA, everybody's still in the game, and let's say you're watching it, and you're like, I like the vibe of so-and-so, or this and that. That's what you do with FanDuel. Now, again, right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the unofficial sports betting partner of the NBA, or not the unofficial, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. What was I talking about being silly? But check it out. FanDuel, again, basketball is here. It is in full swing. You got the NCAA tournament coming up as well. This is the place that you're going to want to be. You're going to want to be at FanDuel. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now let's talk a little bit about the defense and where it's at. There's not a lot of talent, in my opinion, on the defense. I do like Danny Gonzales. I do think Danny Gonzales is a good player, or a good coach. I like how his, and you look at his track record, generally he's pretty well thought of. And when I say he's generally well thought of, he's generally, he's good. Like I said, he's a good coach. I just don't know about the talent that he's going to be working with, and I think that's the problem, is that you're kind of at the stage where you're like, all right, you can be the greatest coach in the world, but how exactly is he going to be able to make all this work? And I think that's going to be the interesting part for this, is that he's going to be that dude that you're like, you got to be able to mix and match, and you got to be able to scheme your way, because if you can scheme your way to things, then I think things become a little bit easier for you. Now, I do think that one thing about it is you're also thinking to yourself, all right, Arizona is going to have to force turnovers, because I don't think that they're going to be able to just be able to beat you the traditional way. I don't see that, and I don't see that being I don't see that being the case, and I just don't think you have the personnel, really. Trey Smith, I think, is solid. Chase Kennedy is going to be interesting. I do like Chase Kennedy. I think he's got a quick burst. I think he's got a quick twitch. I think he's got a lot. There's a lot to like about Chase Kennedy. He can get upfield as well. I like Chase Kennedy. But I also think that you're kind of at the point too where it's like, is he big enough? He's 6 foot. He's 6'3", 210 pounds. You got to be able to find some other guys. Now, who can that other one be? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to find out. Inside, I like Isaiah Johnson, Chuba. The coaching staff likes Chuba, but that's going to be a difficult one, because I just don't think there's a lot of talent. I'm a big believer that in basically NFL talent. I think NFL talent kind of wins out. When you look at the best teams, in NFL history or NCAA history at the U of A, they're teams that had a lot of talent, NBA or NFL talent. You look at, 2023, you had probably 15 dudes that are going to play in the NFL. You look at you look at 1998, you had 19 guys. I just don't see on the defensive side. I just don't see those guys. Maybe in the secondary, which we're going to get to in a second. Um, we'll get to that, but I just don't see. I just don't see like. I just don't see it. So you're gonna have to scheme that one. Maybe you got a lot of dudes in, but the guys from Northwestern State, I'm not sure what to really make of them. Are they good? I don't know. You played at a really low level, and it was on the worst defense in the probably in Division II or whatever it was. I don't know. Now at the linebacker spot, I'm a little bit more intrigued. I think it's going to. I think it's going to help. You've got a Riley Wilson coming in here. This guy that's had sacks and he's brought up tackles. And he's brought up tackles as well. So there's that. Um, and then I like Tay Brown. I think Tay Brown did some really, really good things for Arizona. I think the problem though is that who else is really back there? I don't think Leviticus Sua is really that guy. As a matter of fact, I don't, and that's going to be an interesting one to see how this linebacker unit shapes up, because if you're going to be going with a 3-3-5, you got to have three linebackers in there that are good. Now, can Gotcher be one of those dudes? I don't know. But when you're relying on guys that came from smaller levels, that's that can be an issue. So you don't really have Tay Brown. I think is, like I said, he's been solid, but I don't know that that's necessarily the if that's kind of the linchpin. I don't know that that's good enough. The first two levels of the defense worry me a great deal. Don't know what else to say on that. Now, when it comes to the secondary, I like the secondary. I think the secondary has got multiple dudes that can play in the NFL. I also think that with Dwayne Aquina back there, I don't have a ton of concerns about the secondary. And let's talk about it. You get MGK back. Thought that was a very nice move, getting Marquise Groves-Killebrew back. Is he great? No. But is he solid enough? Yes. And I think he's shown that. He's got a lot of potential. Groves-Killebrew can play. Then you look opposite him. You also have Javion Cole. It's kind of the same thing with Big Bill Norton. Was he, it's like with Big Bill Norton when he came in from Georgia. Just because he wasn't good enough to play at Georgia doesn't mean he's not good enough to play at the U of A. And that's kind of with Javion Cole. Cole was this total stud at San Jose State. He was one of the most high-profile guys in the portal a year ago. Those are going to be probably your two starters. And then the nickel, you got Traden Stukes. Getting Traden Stukes back is huge. Traden Stukes, you watch Dwayne Aquina or you watch Danny Gonzales, and how they talk about Stukes, they believe he's an NFL player. He's physical. He's physical. He's around the ball. He can just do a lot of different things. You win with players like Traden Stukes, and he's just a good guy to have on the team. He is very, very good for camaraderie. And then at the safeties, love the safeties. Dalton Johnson and Genesis Smith, both big time. Getting Genesis Smith, he's an NFL player. I don't know at what round, but he could be a second round pick, and I don't think it would surprise anybody. He's big, he's fast, he's physical, he's instinctive, can do a lot of stuff. Then you look at Dalton Johnson, kind of a little bit a different guy. Obviously, doesn't jump off the page at you, but he's good. He is around the football, and the defense is just a lot better when he is on the field. So there is that. So it's going to be an interesting one. Like I said, I like the secondary, but we're going to talk about the overall aspects of this team and what the biggest concerns are and what the outlook could be. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the outlook for this team. My biggest concerns, and again, I get it. Everybody knows when your biggest concerns are on the line, that can be a real issue for it. That can be a real problem. I am a little bit more confident on the talent on the O-line, even though I don't know why I am. I just am not a huge fan of but I'm not a huge fan of Oglesby from what I've seen. Now, on the defensive line, I don't really like the talent much at all, but I do like bringing in Joe Salavea. I believe Joe Salavea is a significant upgrade over Joe Sumalo. I don't think that anybody would really argue that. But again, those first two levels of the defense, Danny Gonzales is going to have to scheme that one, because I don't look at it and say that there's a lot of talent there. Now, Can Arizona maybe make it a passable unit? I think that's got to be the goal, because if you can make it a passable unit, let's be honest here. It's the offense that's going to have to carry this team. When you've got somebody like Fifita, when you've got that running game, when you got those wide receivers, you've got to be able to have an offense that could carry the team. And I think that's what Arizona's got to have. But can the defense just be good enough? Can the secondary be so good that it's able to help out? You've got some guys that are a little bit bigger or a little bit more physical that can play down in the box, like a Traden Stukes, like obviously a Genesis Smith. Can you get more out of that unit? Can you be able to mix and match? I like the coaching. I think, like I said, I think that there is a significant coaching upgrade on this staff. Doege over Babers is obviously significant. And then you've got Joe Salavea, who is Joe Salavea is a massive upgrade over Samalo, who nobody liked. Maybe Brent Brennan liked him, but I don't think that any of the coaches like Joe Sumalo, and I don't think the players like Joe Sumalo. So that was a big upgrade. But and you got Akina in the secondary. If there's a better secondary coach in college football history than Dwayne Akina, I would like to see it. I don't believe that there is. Overall, though, I think your goal is just get to a bowl game, or I'm going to even go with lower than that. Now, I know that a lot of people are saying, well, that's you're lowering your expectations, yada, yada, yada. I get all that, but we also got to be realistic. If you can get to a bowl game, I think that shows tremendous improvement, because Arizona last year was obviously a dumpster fire. You've lost a significant amount of talent off of that. So if you're playing for a bowl game, I think that you're in pretty good shape, at least relative. Now, I think with Arizona, though, the big thing is what's going to happen then if Arizona gets 3 or 4 wins? Well, then I think you got to move on from Brent Brennan. I don't know how else to say it. This is going to be a make or break year, because Brennan came in with a lot of credits because he kept the roster together, and he's appeared to be a good guy. But the problem is that there was no community engagement. There wasn't anywhere. He wasn't anywhere around. And when it came to football, it was a catastrophe on the field. Arizona's got a schedule that I think you could win 5 games or so. And if you going into that ASU game, if you're playing for that game, then playing for a bowl in that game, I think people will take it. Now, you're probably not going to win that game, but you could at least be if you can at least be in that discussion, I think that would be something that'd be cool to see. So we're going to find out. But again, I think a big part of it, though, for some of the optimism, is replacing Dino Babers with somebody who knows what he's doing. Like I said, people say, well, how do you know Doege's good? I don't know how good Doege is, but I just know that he couldn't be worse than Dino Babers. So there's an upgrade. That's an upgrade there just through attrition. So we'll find out. But like I said, if you can get to 6 wins, that would be a bowl game. That would be massive, massive for the U of A. If you can't get to that point, then I think that you're going to be in some real trouble. And I think Brent Brennan is going to be in some real trouble as well. But that's kind of what it is. All right. Now, wanted to kind of break that down because we got Arizona basketball post-game show coming up. That is going to be Arizona, Kansas State. Got to keep these wins coming. Got to keep pushing this because, again, you've got a pretty brutal back end of the schedule here if you're Arizona, and you've got to be able to continue to push that. If you continue to push that, then I think that you're going to be in good shape. This is all about tournament seeding at this point. Arizona's obviously righted the ship to a certain degree, and I think that you've just got to continue to show people that, listen, man, you're in the Big 12. This is a gauntlet. Everybody knows that, and there's going to be some games when you don't play your best, but you've just got to be able to continue to play out. If you continue to play out, things are going to be good for Arizona. But again, post-game show, hopefully we're breaking down in Arizona, Kansas State, a victory over Kansas State. That would be very, very nice. Continue the good vibes, get it rolling. Again, Tommy Lloyd has done a really, really good job in this first year first year in the Big 12, further re-emphasizing that Tommy Lloyd is a good coach for the people out there that did not know that. But as always, very, very much appreciate you all making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. Your team every day. Let's get this victory. Wanted to talk a little bit of football, but bear down and back the A And again, we will be back with you tomorrow. TTFN, ta-ta for now.